Hello and welcome to Theme Park Information. In today's show, we're doing a review for Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is a park I've been wanting to go to for a number of years. Pretty much, they have an absolutely outrageous selection of roller coasters, and let's go through to them. Now, unfortunately, some of them were closed. So, Apocalypse the Ride was shut, as was Green Lantern First Flight, and so was Viper. So I am unable to review those rides, even though I was there for 2 days. They didn't open at all, so I couldn't go on them. I also didn't go on Gold Rusher, just simply ran out of time. And let's be honest, it's not exactly the greatest ride in the world from what I've seen from POVs and such like that. So I do accept that I didn't go on it, and well, I'm sure you'll get over that as. Right, let's move on to the actual roller coaster I did go on, and we're going to start with Batman the Ride. Now, these might be clones all over the country and stuff like that, but let's not beat around the bush. They're a really solid roller coaster. They are intense, they've got good inversions, they've got a pretty decent layout, and it flies through it. Also, it's actually one of the most well-themed roller coasters I think I've seen. It's amazing how little it actually gets praise for its theme and stuff like that, but it's a really, really cool ride to be queuing for. And I will be honest, really enjoyed it. It's a really, really good B&M invert, well worth going on. Anyway, moving on, we have Full Throttle. This is actually one of their newer roller coasters, and I will be honest, this ride is both utterly amazing and really frustrating at the same time, because it has so many just epic elements. So, for example, the launch is really good fun. The loop is absolutely outrageous. I mean, it's just... how you do not roll back on it, I don't know, but for some reason you manage to complete the inversion every single time, and that's brilliant. And then you also have the tunnel section and the dive loop, which are both excellent elements that go really well. And I'll tell you what, when it stops and backwards launches, it catches out so many people, and you hear them all scream and react and stuff like that, and that's really good. And then you launch forward again after going up the dive loop and stuff like that, and then you just get thrown over the top of the vertical loop, which is just mind blowing to have track on top of track. And I will be honest, it's probably one of the most unique elements ever. I don't feel I can think of it being anywhere else, and for whatever reason, no one else has followed it. It's a stunning ride concept to have track on multiple layers and stuff like that, and interact with it. I mean, the only downside is because you do get a bit of airtime, is instead of having an excellent drop afterwards, where, bear in mind, this is a massive loop, around 160 odd feet, and you'd have a pretty sweet drop the other side of it. You'd probably get out of your seat and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm not asking for this ride to be another 5 minutes on it, but the fact that the brakes were on the drop, it's just so frustrating, because they almost had an absolute peach of a ride. They had probably, I mean, I'm not saying it'd be one of the best in the world, but they would have had a sort of roller coaster you'd really look forward to going on. And as it happens, they kind of have a roller coaster which is really good. But I mean, we only went on it 2, maybe 3 times, because as good fun as it is, it's just good fun. It doesn't really go beyond that. Anyway, moving on, we have Goliath. And I will be honest, other than this ride being built by Giro Vanilla, who pretty much make nothing else other than this Titan and something else somewhere in the world, it's one of those rides where it's I will be honest, it's quite strange, because I've actually, before going on it, I'd actually heard quite a lot of negative kind of press to do with it, they're not as good as B&M, and the ride itself is pretty average, you probably should scrap it and stuff like that. That's that major brake run, which obviously literally stops you pretty much dead. I mean, other than the fact that it's a really, really cool front entrance, stuff like that, with Goliath with huge letters, and you walk either side of the eye, the queue line's really long and stuff like that. Now, in fairness, didn't have to queue for it at all. There was literally, it was walk on. And I will be honest, this ride is actually really good fun. I mean, I will be honest, it's rare that a 255-foot ride is bad, and it isn't. I mean, admittedly, yes, the drop isn't particularly steep. I believe it's 60 odd degrees, which isn't to be laughed at, isn't a joke, but it's not exactly 80 or something like that, which would have been an incredible drop. And it goes for a tunnel, which is also quite cool. The turnaround is a little bit I don't think it's quite as aggressive or steep. It's kind of like plateaus a little bit there. But then there's actually like an airtime hill, and it's like, I kid you not, every single time my friend got airtime, and the last time we managed to go on it, even I managed to get some airtime on it and stuff. And I mean proper ejector airtime on it. It's like, look, we could have just been riding it on a really good day. I accept that the rides have good and bad days, and I'm reviewing it on one of the days where it actually was working perfectly, and like I was taken out of my seat. Now, to do with the mid-course brake run, I'm pretty sure it's unnecessary, because otherwise the helix at the end would be an absolute nightmare. It'd be an unusable element almost. You'd almost have to change the ride. Now, whether or not they should have designed the latter half of the track differently and kept momentum and stuff like that, and maybe had like a far less intense helix, because I mean, people can't accuse this ride of being forceful. The last helix literally could have some people graying out on it. It's a really solid ride, in fairness, a really good ride. I'm very happy I've been on it, and I will be honest, I do think some of the criticism it's received is a little bit unfair. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not in my top 10 or anything like that, but it's just a ride that I was expecting to not be that good, and it delivered a lot more than I thought it was going to. Anyway, moving on, we are going to go to Ninja, the aerodynamics kind of suspended roller coaster. And I will be honest, there's not really too much to say about this. I mean, it's quite fun. It has some really cool interactions with the water over there, near where the like the log flume is and stuff like that. There's no real problems with it or anything like that. It's pretty picturesque and kind of like quite cool looking. It does have a lift hill to get back to the station, which I always find a little bit weird, but I mean, in fairness, there's not that much I can really talk to you about it. I mean, if you've been on any sort of aerodynamic suspended coasters like the Bat at like Kings Island or anything like that, or you've Vampire at Chesterton, you've kind of experienced most of them and what they're about. They're a fairly solid ride. I think they're pretty underrated again, but yeah, even then, it's one of the things you can't really go into too much detail about because they're all pretty similar. Anyway, let's move on to the new Revolution. Now, I will be honest, this ride is pretty much a classic. Is it a good ride? Yeah, it's okay. Like, it's just okay. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yes, it's a short scoff, and yes, it like does have a vertical loop, and it's pretty much one of the first rides to go up there. First to include the vertical loop. It's a good, fun, long ride. It doesn't have much pace, or doesn't really transition particularly well, but then it's old. It's pretty much was built like in the mid-70s, so you can't expect too much from it, I think. But I will be honest, it's an iconic ride for the park. It's a bit of a classic ride as well. Really famous ride. And I will be honest, they've done a really good job maintaining it and updating it and keeping it relevant, even though I don't really get VR with anything. So I wouldn't have probably done it in that way. But, oh well, I mean, there's nothing really to really complain about there. What might be a bit of a potentially contentious issue is to do with Riddler's Revenge. Now, this is a B&M stand-up coaster. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it's probably the best stand-up coaster you're going to go on. It's got 6 inversions, it's a long ride, it's got some real intensity, and there's some really cool elements and moments on it. Is it a bit of a headbanger? Yes. Is standing up on rides a little bit painful? Yes. Could they convert it to a sit-down? Probably not as Scream as in the exact same park. Now, in fairness, I will be honest, I don't really see a problem with having 2 sit-down roller coasters, even if they are 2 sit-down floor coasters, because they're both different layouts. They're also not right next to each other. So I will be honest, I think you could do it. I think people would be like, it's a little bit strange, but you could get away with it. I mean, especially since it's like a long ride, it's got a good drop, it's got some actually really good elements to it. It's actually also got some decent theming as well. I will be honest, there are worse rides you can renovate, and I will be honest, it's a park which I think you get away with it. I mean, there's so many rides at this park and roller coasters and stuff like that. I don't think people would mind that much. I don't think it would be a huge deal. Obviously, I might be wrong, but there's only one way to find out. Talking of Scream, as it happens, might be next to it in the park. It's next to it on the Wikipedia list of how I'm going through it. And I will be honest, I'm not going to say disappointed with it, because it's actually quite a cool ride. I mean, it is literally in a car park, pretty much. I know it's referred to as the parking lot coaster. It's one of those ones. It's a really weird one because it's got lots of inversions. It's got a good layout. It's generally speaking, pretty intense, pretty good fun. It's pretty smooth. It's flawless and stuff like that. And there's no queue for it or anything like that. It just seems very lazily just shoved in. And what I find really strange about it is it opened in 2003, and they have done nothing to it to make it look more picturesque. Put maybe trees around it, or even just instead of having a car park, put loads of stones down to at least add something. It's they've done nothing in 15 years to improve the ride in any sort of meaningful way. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I'll put it this way, I prefer things like Dragon Khan, in all honesty.